You're listening to The Real Short Box, a comic book podcast made for geeks by geeks.
Welcome to The Real Short Box, the most righteous podcast on the internet. My name is Kevin.
I'm Donald.
I'm Jarrett. That was really fucking exciting there, guys.
That was powerful.
Yeah.
Well, the reason why you're excited, Jarrett, is because we're now doing the third part of our history of Marvel, the Silver Age, approximately 1961 to 1969. This is an exciting age, gentlemen. It was an age of exploration, an age of optimism, an age of social change and disorder and revolution. And this reflected in the comics of this era. You saw the medium get taken to heights unseen ever since.
Yeah, this was the explosion, at least for Marvel, of their mythology, so to speak. You know, They had Captain America, they had Namor, but I mean, the characters we're going to talk about, and we're only going to get to a handful because the Silver Age characters are each one is so full of history and rich in history.
A podcast on each.
Yeah, you can do a podcast on each.
I mean, we'll be honest with you, we're not going to do justice. It's impossible.
Yeah.
Like, as we said, we talked about this earlier before we started. We'll be here all night and into tomorrow and probably for the rest of the week trying to do justice.
So this is the Marvel Guide for Dummies
exactly.
on
for the
Silver Age.
Yes, that's the best we can do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, lay off. Okay, we get way more specific on other podcasts. This one, we're just trying to give you the history and help you out.
Right. So let's talk about something that took place here. We have Atlas Comics, and Atlas Comics pretty much was in the shitter.
Mm-hmm.
It was
Financially, it was pretty much bankrupt.
It was filled with shitbirds and stories that didn't matter.
Yeah.
And it was bankrupt and hard times indeed. What happened next? What was the big thing that turned it all around?
Well, it begins...
Coca-Cola. The taste of Coke. Sorry, they paid me to say that, you guys. I'm so sorry.
Oh,
I just got a big sponsorship from them.
Damn, did you get a sponsorship, Kevin?
I did, but it was from Google.
Wait, hang on. Oh,
Jesus.
They gave me a special...
We are not sharing things here, guys.
Wow, I got just preparation H.
Well, how much did they pay you?
They haven't yet. They said the check is in the mail.
I did turn down Tough Actin' to Nactin'.
Oh.
Yeah, which was good. I held out.
Yeah, that was good.
But what did happen for real?
Well, it begins with a legendary story, fellas. It begins with a famous golf meeting between Julius Schwartz of DC and Marvel's publisher Martin Goodman.
Julius Schwartz, who has a big goddamn mouth.
It's not his fault.
Yeah. Okay.
Was it really? This was a golf game between the two?
Yeah, you know, these guys, they always, it's like in any industry, especially a small industry like comic books, everyone knows each other.
Mm-hmm.
So they were hanging out one day, they're golfing, they're talking, and Julius Schwartz explains to Martin Goodman, you know what, we're doing really well with this superhero team, Justice League. Why don't maybe you guys should try something like that, see what happens, maybe.
He thought he was like throwing him a bone.
Yeah, kind of throwing a bone, hey, we got you by the balls, essentially, we're only letting you, distribute so many books per month, so let's try to help you out. Maybe you guys can come up creatively with your own little superhero team. Maybe you'll boost your sales, because obviously you're about to go out of business in another year or so.
And he did that maniacal laugh after. He's like, now watch me hit this spa.
Yeah.
4. And speaking of 4,
oh, nice.
Oh, man, damn.
Goodman goes back to Stan Lee and says, hey, create a superhero team. Okay.
In total Goodman fashion, too. These guys are doing this. We should do that. Do that. Peace out. I'll see you later. I'm playing golf.
So Stan Lee, by the grace of God, had 2 people on his staff who returned, and also one who was already working his way up through his company, but a very famous artist named Jack Kirby made his triumphant return, or somewhat triumphant return to Marvel.
Jack the King Kirby.
Jack the King Kirby a few years earlier.
He was only a prince at this point.
Jack the Duke Kirby.
Jack the Duke Kirby.
Well, there's only one Duke there, partner.
That's right. Jonathan Wayne. See, it sounds weird when you say
Jonathan
it like that.
Wayne.
Isn't that Bruce's?
I know, it does sound like Bruce Wayne's dead. So, yeah, we had Jack Kirby.
Yeah, so Kirby and Stan, they came up with this very interesting team called the Fantastic Four.
on a galaxy adventure. They were hit by cosmic rays.
Yeah, please look up the 90s original Fantastic
in
Four.
a form of change forever.
Oh my god.
In the most fantastic ways.
With
no
voice-
need to fear, they're here. Just calm the four.
Fantastic Four!
Oh, it's so bad.
Voice talents of Brian Austin Green from 90210.
Woo!
Really?
He did the Human Torch the first season.
Wow.
You don't say.
Oh man. Yes.
Well, hey, gotta get work somehow.
Just terrible.
But what's cool about this, fellas, is they decided to change things up with this new type of superhero team. They wanted to give the superhero team problems. Basically, they're not perfect people. They're always squabbling with each other. And it's also going to be written for a slightly older audience, maybe for like teenagers, young adults, so they can relate to it. So you have this team of 4 people. You have Mr. Fantastic, of course. Brilliant man, brilliant scientist. You have his girlfriend, Sue Storm, later becoming Sue Richards, of course.
Mhm. The invisible.
The Invisible Woman.
First, the Invisible Girl.
Yes, that's right. The Invisible Girl.
Not till years later did
That's
they call her
true.
the Invisible Woman.
Thank you for correcting me on that, sir.
Yeah.
You had his best friend, big bulky guy, Ben Grimm.
Just a guy from what was it? From Yancey Street.
Yep.
And then the punk kid brother of Sue, Johnny Storm.
Mm-hmm.
He was angry, Johnny.
Hothead.
Hothead
Johnny.
Took me a while for that one. Angry Johnny.
This is just about.
That's right. We're
No.
going 90s here.
No.
Not the 60s.
Now, of course, for those of you who know their origins, you obviously know they were on a space mission in a
We just sang a song about it.
Yes.
They're blasted by
Yes.
cosmic rays.
blast by
right.
cosmic rays. So obviously, Mr. Fantastic is like a stretchy, similar to Plastic Man, not as powerful, but
No,
But-
we
but-
established that.
let's establish that. But
And a big theme in the Spawn coming from the atomic age. Everybody it was radiation,
Yeah.
cosmic energy. It was always like some kind of like radiation.
Well,
or
of course,
something.
because this was the era of the
Atomic bomb.
the atomic bomb.
Yeah.
So it made sense. You have all those B movies. I'm sure they were influenced by that, obviously.
Mm.
B movies from the 50s, early 60s. Hey, if I get hit by a cosmic ray or atomic bomb, if I survive it, I can grow these superpowers.
Now, I heard a story too that Mr. Fantastic originally was going to have like water powers because it was going to be something like kind of give it the whole elemental aspect, but then they just abandoned it because they thought water would look stupid
Right.
shooting out of people.
Right. It looked kind of weird.
Tell that to Hydra Man. That guy's mad.
Yes,
Yeah.
he is.
Yeah, because he does that and he's doing fine.
Is he?
Talked to him the other day. Hydra Man is doing great.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Well, tell him hello for me.
I will.
Uh-huh.
I will.
Yeah.
And of course, Johnny Storm becomes the Human Torch.
Mm-hmm.
As we talked about, Invisible.
Talking about fire crotch, huh?
Yeah, there you go. Invisible Girl, Sue Storm, and then, of course, last but not least, poor Ben Grimm kind of got the worst of it, I guess,
no,
technically.
he's the ever-loving, blue-eyed thing.
Which, by the way, this was the beginning of something cool where certain heroes look like villains, but
Right.
obviously aren't. So the Thing, you look at him, you would think, oh my god, it's an ugly monster, he's going to do something. And that's what's kind of interesting about Ben Grimm's character. He has that look, but he has a heart of gold.
Right.
You
He's
know,
a
Beauty and the
sweetie.
Beast kind of thing.
Yeah, Beauty and the Beast, sweet fella.
Well, and also we just talked Johnny Storm, Human Torch, technically a first kind of legacy character because we had the Human Torch from the Golden Age.
Yes, the Andress. It is
Yeah.
kind of, decided to reuse it, but just turn it into, reformulate it as something else.
Mhm.
Now, what's cool is these guys didn't really have secret identities. They're kind of out in the open with
That's right.
with who they were. Kind of embracing the celebrity status.
Which was pretty new for the time, right? Because
Very new for its time, indeed.
everybody else had their
You-
alter egos.
Usually you cover up your face, you
Put
know.
glasses on and no one knows who you
No one knows
are.
who you are.
Exactly. Oh, but you have the same spit curl. Shut the fuck up. Clark Kent. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, they
Fascist.
did a wonderful issue of the Tick comic with a Clark Kent kind of rip-off
Oh,
character,
really?
and the Tick knew who he was even in disguise, and it really annoyed that guy.
Well, and still to this day, even like you watch the Supergirl show, and you're like, she literally just puts on
Mm-hmm.
like they still are just milking that one to this day.
Yeah, at least the Beast created when he was like, well, when we go out in public, I've got this thing that'll make me look human.
Oh, like an image inducer
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
They always use that. The image
Those were
inducers.
cool.
Yeah.
That's a cool idea.
Smart thinking, Beast.
But glasses is easy.
What's cool about the Fantastic Four is that they introduced some very interesting characters. First of all, one of the first would be
Mole Man.
There's Mole Man, the Skrulls. I
Scrolls.
think that was issue number 2.
Mm-hmm.
You had issue 5, which I have in my box right here. one of the greatest
Not
villains
anymore,
of all
you
time.
don't. See you later, guys.
Hey, get back here! One of the greatest supervillains of all time, Victor Von Doom, introduced in issue number 5.
Well, what they started doing, and what we'll find too, is they started creating the Marvel Universe.
Yes.
Which is
Yeah.
really cool.
Interconnected Marvel Universe.
Mhm.
Yeah, and it was in the real world.
Yes.
Right.
It was in New York
New York.
instead of Metropolis or Gotham.
Right.
That's right.
It was real world scenarios.
It gave realism
and
into it.
it gave young kids hope that these guys could be seen in the city.
Right.
Precisely.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
how cool would it be to be a kid living in Manhattan around this time? They're like, fucking Fantastic Four to fight right over there.
Right. That looks
Right.
like the Baxter Building, you know?
Yeah,
like,
right.
Yeah.
They introduced a ton of people too. I think the Kree were introduced around this time. So you know, alien races, the Skrulls, we said.
Yeah, Ronan was in
Ronan
there.
the Accuser.
Also, the following issue, number 6, you had the first Marvel villain team up, Doctor Doom and the Submariner.
That's right. That's when Namor was.
Oh, is that issue what, 6?
Yes, sir.
Oh man, do you have that?
Not on me right now, but yes.
Oh, wow.
And I could be mistaken, but I think that Fantastic Four is where Namor came back to the Silver Age.
Yes, correct.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
because he became like he was on again, off again, hero and nemesis kind of.
Well, as we talked, the first
Yeah.
anti-hero.
Yes. And of course, later through this Fantastic Four run, as I said, so many great people were introduced. You had Silver Surfer, Galactus, the Black Panther would later be introduced.
Mm-hmm.
A nihilist. I mean, we can go on and on. I mean,
Mhm.
it's just an amazing amount of characters that Jack Kirby and Stan Lee produced during a very short 6-7 year period.
And what was cool about the Fantastic Four, as far as like their characters and their rogues gallery and all that, was they went from the costume criminal from New York who created an invention, you know, or they went to the cosmic level. So they were like in space, or they were on Earth. They were always like flipping, flying around, you know.
And that's why it creates so many possibilities for the MCU
Mhm.
and for Fox, for what it's worth.
So they were the impetus, though, for all of this. They
Yes,
were
this
the
is
spark.
this is where it all starts. November 1961
Well,
cover date.
I noticed you said Fox and you said Marvel, but Disney owns Marvel.
Yes.
So it's Disney and Fox, but you forgot Sony.
Yes, Sony owns
okay.
a certain character.
Spider.
The,
like
Spider-
the
character.
amazing
Man.
Spider-Man.
Yes.
Should we get into him?
Why not?
He did good. He did good for
Mhm.
himself.
As a matter of fact, as you know, gentlemen, and maybe the audience doesn't know, Spider-Man was a complete accident.
Oh yeah, they did not expect for him to be what he was.
He was originally supposed to be a different character in entirely, according to what not what Lee had in his head, of course, but what Kirby
Mhm.
had given him.
Yeah.
He had like a gun, like a web gun or
Right,
something
yeah,
instead, and
His
Yeah.
creation is so convoluted because it's a lot of he said stuff. Because
Kirby, Ditko.
Kirby, it's between Lee, Kirby, and Ditko.
mhm.
But what he was, and I'm not going to go into his. Everybody out there has seen a million Spider-Man movies. Peter Parker, with great power comes great responsibility. Uncle Ben, oh shit, that sucks. I got power. Now I'm going to use it for good. I got a guilt complex. It never really hit me until later on when you're older and stuff like that. That like what these people's powers were based on was was guilt, immense guilt, or like
Self-doubt.
self-doubt. It's just really interesting because those were
Character
things
studies.
you could relate with, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Spider-Man, Peter Parker, as we know, when Spider-Man first appeared in the early 1960s, he first appeared, as we know, and it's a really easy book to get. It's called Amazing Fantasy 15. Came out in 1962.
Yeah,
Yes. And
that's an easy one.
And it's only pocket change of approximately anywhere from $10,000 up to $1.5 million.
One sold for 1.1 million.
Oh, 1.1 million.
You
There
know,
you go.
I saw a guy once. I was at a convention in Canton, Ohio. It was Akron/Canton, and I was at this guy's booth looking through his books, and this just middle-aged dude came up, and he's like, "Hey," he's like, "I found this stuff in my grandfather's collection." He's like, what could you give me for this? And he pulls out Amazing Fantasy 15.
Wow.
I shit you not.
Oh fuck!
He had it in his hand. The guy behind the counter, like, almost shit himself.
I would have too.
Like,
I
and,
would have too.
and he was like,
I would have been speechless.
he was
for real.
like, can I
touch it.
see it? And the guy was like, yeah, here. And he pulls it out and he's like,
Road!
no.
Wrap that up, motherfucker.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
No, just show it to me. Use your hands. I don't want to touch it. Just show it to me. And then the guy like pulled it over and like showed it to him. He's like looking like why?
The Holy Grail.
Yeah, because that guy had no idea.
Oh my god.
And the dude was so cool that was behind the counter there. He was like, or behind his table or whatever you want to say. But he was there and he was like, okay. He's like, so this is a legit copy of the first appearance of Spider-Man. And he's like, I can't afford to buy this book from you. That's how much it's worth. And the kid was, like the dude was ecstatic. And he's like, are you serious?
Oh my god.
And he's like, yeah. And he was like, oh,
he's
wow.
like, my children's children can't afford to buy this book from you.
Yeah. I've tried to sell my wife and kids and
you
still can't afford it.
You want to see something fun, like every now and then I'd get like, go eBay search and put Amazing Fantasy 15. There are people that are selling literally pages from the book.
For
not only that,
$CGC'd
them, so they get them slabbed and graded.
It's like the Dead Sea Scrolls.
How can you get a page graded?
They do.
They do. For some reason, books, I would say like pre-1963, because there weren't that many copies left. For some reason, they'll accept a page. Of the cover.
Do you think, let me ask you something here. Now, this is a crazy thought in my head.
What's that?
Do you think that, like, let's say, for example, you had just an older, book, and it might not necessarily be a Spider-Man or something, but you just had an older book from, like, the 50s or 40s or something. Do you think it'd be worth more if you split it up by page and got them CGC'd? Or would you make more money off the whole entire book? Especially if the cover was like all shit.
Like damaged.
Yeah.
Right.
Would it be?
I think at the end of the day, people want complete stuff.
Yeah.
But that is it. But
when it comes
if
to
you're doing
books,
like an eBay market kind of thing, maybe splitting it up might be good. I don't know.
Yeah.
When it comes to really rare books that are hard to find, I guess that's not a bad idea per se if you're willing to go that route.
Do that. If you're a butcher, though, you'd have to
be like, I'm ripping up this Captain America 1940.
Yeah, 1946 or something.
So the thing that was cool, Spider-Man, I'll say this, like whenever my daughter asks me, she goes, who's your favorite superhero? I always have, it's a kind of an impossible question.
Right?
Blue Beetle.
Yeah.
No, I'm obviously a huge anti-hero fan. I've got Black Adam tattooed on my back. I'm a big Namor fan. But my favorite superhero is Spider-Man.
Clean superhero.
Yeah, my favorite clean superhero is Spider-Man.
It's very close to the same. Blue Beetle and Spider-Man.
Well, we'll get into the Ditko amalgam there, right? Interconnecting. But when Spider-Man first appeared in the early 1960s, teenagers in superhero comic books were usually relegated to the role of sidekick to the protagonist. The Spider-Man series broke ground by featuring Peter Parker, a high school student. So right there, everybody can relate to him as in high school, even junior high. They could relate to the high school student behind Spider-Man's secret identity, and with whose self-obsessions with rejection, inadequacy, and loneliness young readers could relate. Now, while Spider-Man had all the makings of a sidekick, unlike previous teen heroes such as Bucky and Robin, Spider-Man had no superhero mentor. He was all on his own, figuring life out.
That's true.
So that's
a very good point.
Yeah, it was always, so what it was is like Spider-Man, and totally unintentionally, but like this guy just spoke to so many people.
Especially of that early baby boom generation.
Right. You think about it, and this is a character, Peter Parker, that has lost his parents, his mom and dad. He's
already an orphan, right?
Yeah, his aunt and uncle, and staying with them. Loses his uncle, only has his aunt.
And he blames himself for it.
Yes, he blames himself for everything, basically.
Right.
Gains these fucking powers, and then is like completely alone in how to navigate the world.
Right.
As this,
no one mentoring him.
Yeah.
Right.
That's crazy alone, like isolation. That would speak to so many kids that feel isolated in the world.
And he used his sense, he had a sense of humor, but he was obviously always using his sense of humor to kind of
get through it.
To get through it, yeah.
And again, in his real life, as a student, as a person, he was a big nerd. So again, he was kind of isolated in that. He would get made fun of. He probably sat alone at the lunch table sometimes.
Right.
You know, stuff like that.
And unlike the Fantastic Four, he was very keen on his secret identity as Peter Parker because he didn't want his aunt to be threatened by, what happened to his Uncle Ben.
Right.
So he kept it a secret from her, a secret from everybody. So then he had to live that dual life, which was a huge part of the Spider-Man book, of scrawny, puny Parker having to deal with like Flash Thompson, picking on him, not getting the girls, when he knows, like, if I just told him I was Spider-Man, life would maybe be a lot easier.
Everything would be so much different for me.
Yeah, or just
my life
cooler,
would be completely. Did they do a what if about that? What if Spider-Man revealed his identity?
God, I don't know.
If they didn't, they should have. I will say, because that's a great concept. It's a great idea.
Well, we do know, like, there was that one where what if the spider was bitten by a radioactive human?
Yes, right. That was pretty fun.
So I'm going to try, like I said, his creation is convoluted. I'm going to kind of go briefly into it and talk about some other historical aspects of Spider-Man. In 1962, with the success of the Fantastic Four, Marvel Comics editor and head writer Stan Lee was casting about for a new superhero idea. He said, and this is going to be, like I said, a lot of he said stuff. He said the idea for Spider-Man arose from a surge in teenage demand for comic books and the desire to create a character with whom teens could identify. In his autobiography, Lee cites the non-superhuman pulp magazine crime fighter The Spider, also known as The Spider's Web and The Spider Returns, as a great influence. In a multitude of print and video interviews, Lee stated he was further inspired by seeing a spider climb up a wall, adding in his autobiography that he has told that story so often he has become unsure of whether or not it's true. But
the guy's old.
Right.
After 55 years.
Exactly. So we also the lines blur as far as Kirby disputes Lee's version of the story. He claims that he designed a costume. Steve Ditko obviously designed a costume. There was also a character called like the Fly that they think it was based off. There's a whole bunch of like convoluted.
The Fly, wasn't that an Atlas creation back in the Atlas days?
I think it was. There's a whole so. There's a whole. It gets super convoluted, but I'm gonna cut through all that because that is literally a podcast for another level. Basically, if you want to give credit to it, I would say it's Lee, Ditko, and Kirby created Spider-Man. A few months after Spider-Man's introduction, publisher Goodman reviewed the sales figures for that issue and was shocked to find it to have been one of the nascent Marvel's highest-selling comics. So right immediately, because it was in this anthology book of Amazing Fantasy 15.
Yep, the final issue.
Right.
It was basically meant to be just a throwaway,
Which was such an Atlas thing to do pre-Marvel. I know this is Marvel, but like, of just like going to like 14 issues, probably changing the title like 5 times.
Yep.
So yeah, that was the last one. So they right away give him his ongoing series, The Amazing Spider-Man #1, who I believe the Fantastic Four appeared in.
Yes, they are.
It's also the first appearance of one of my favorite villains, the Chameleon.
The Chameleon.
So I'll never get that book. That sucks. The title eventually became Marvel's top-selling series, with the character swiftly becoming a cultural icon.
Mm-hmm.
Now, his Rogues Gallery is one of my favorites. I put it...
It's up there with Batman.
I put it like neck and neck with Batman. I couldn't really pick one or the other.
I'm more putting it with Flash.
With Flash?
Yeah, I would say Batman's is a little higher up for me.
Flash, see, I'll disagree with that because Flash has got a great Rogues Gallery, but Spider-Man's has Flash-like villains and then more in-depth villains. Like, it's got guys like the Shocker.
It's apples to oranges. You're comparing the Marvel way to the DC way.
Right.
So, there's a lot of angst and internal strife and stuff with these villains in Spider-Man, Doc Ock being a big one.
Right.
And we all saw that, hopefully, if you haven't, shame on you, in Spider-Man 2.
Yes, right. 2004 classic film.
Alfred Molina played Doc Ock.
Excellent actor.
Yeah, so we see that. So that I'm just saying, like, based on characters, just their names and what they can do.
Oh, no, I see the
not
content.
who they are.
Yeah. No, but Spider-Man's Rogues Gallery is one of my favorite. I mean, you got the Scorpion, you got the Shocker,
the Vulture, Sandman.
Pre-Daredevil, Kingpin was his villain.
Yes.
Spider-Man 50.
Yeah. A lot of people don't know that.
Yeah, that's
true. Everybody always associates him with Daredevil.
Yeah.
But no, he was Spider-Man's
and
first.
Of course, you can't forget Green Goblin.
Goblin, of course, and that. But one of the cool things, too, in Spider-Man in these early, I would say right to the tip of what we're going to call the Bronze Age.
Just the tip.
He deals with death again, the death of Gwen Stacy.
Yeah, his girl, like the love of his life,
gets killed.
He kills her.
Yeah.
He essentially kills. She's falling and he tries to
webs her leg,
yeah, he webs her.
Much, like,
she snaps her neck.
Oh, now, this is for the Bronze Age. This happens during the Bronze Age.
I know, but
it's like right
still,
at
it's like
yeah. And then the last things I want to talk about Spider-Man, because once again, he can be a whole goddamn podcast. We talked in the Atlas podcast about the Comics Code, and we talked about sometimes going outside of it. Now, this is right. We're talking 1970. I think pretty much the 60s were the Silver Age, as we're saying. But I'm just going to say this one. An early 1970s Spider-Man story led to the revision of the Comics Code. Previously, the code forbade the depiction of the use of illegal drugs, even negatively. So even if you saw someone like, oh God, I'm going to try this pot brownie, and then they died from it and their head exploded and they got like boils on their skin, you still couldn't show that because it had just people taking drugs. However, in 1970, the Nixon administration's Department of Health, Education, and Welfare asked Stan Lee to publish an anti-drug message in one of Marvel's top-selling titles.
Wasn't it issue 97?
You're right. Lee chose the top-selling Amazing Spider-Man series, issues 96 to 98. So yeah, it was a three-part story. Featured a story arc depicting the negative effects of drug use. In the story, Peter Parker's friend Harry Osborn becomes addicted to pills.
Ooh,
I think, pills. I don't think they got
They
any
probably
more specific than that.
Yeah.
When Spider-Man fights the Green Goblin, Norman Osborn, Harry's father, Spider-Man defeats the Green Goblin by revealing Harry's drug addiction. Because that was a cool thing, too. Harry Osborn always knew that Peter Parker was Spider-Man, so he always held that over him.
Mm-hmm.
While the story had a clear anti-drug message, the Comics Code Authority refused to issue its seal of approval, which meant dick. So Marvel nevertheless published the 3 issues without the Comics Code Authority's approval or seal. The issue sold so well that the industry's self-censorship was undercut and the code was subsequently revised. So they realized, like, oh shit, if we want to hold on to any power, we got to just go like, yeah, I guess it's cool then. We'll revise that. You can show that.
Yeah.
So fuck you, Comics
So
Code.
it's kind of like with movies going to MPAA and saying, okay,
That-
we'll let this one slide.
That 97, I think I picked that up for like a song.
Yeah.
I think I found it at a shop, and I think I paid like $30 for it.
That's it?
Yeah, and it is such a seminal piece of history to me.
Oh, for sure.
Like in comics.
Yeah.
That I was ecstatic when I found it. I was like, this is like there's some, obviously we like first appearances. We talk about it all the time.
Yeah.
But there's some pieces of history.
Oh no, I love
that
history.
you just want to own.
Just because.
Because of this talking point that you can have. And that's one of the issues.
Oh no, I'm for sure gonna try and find these books now. I'm sure they're probably up and down. But
Are you willing to
still get it?
Are you willing to sacrifice your children's college education?
Yes,
they don't
he
have
already
that anymore. I
said
already
that.
did. Yeah.
Jesus.
You
why
see
don't
those short
listen?
boxes right there?
Yeah.
That's their education. That's all they need. That's all I need.
Right. That short box there was Susie's, and that one was Layla's.
Yeah.
Wow.
Those are my imaginary daughters.
Yeah.
So how's your dog gonna eat?
My dog's name is Batman.
He just
can
ate
take care of himself.
He ate a balloon.
He ate a balloon and
He's
crapped
fine.
it out today. He's fine.
He'll just re-eat the balloon.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you were talking about Spider-Man.
So yeah, I mean
And then
that's where I'm going to leave it with him because
Okay.
that guy, it could go on and on. Spider-Man is amazing. He would obviously go on to have so many titles. Yeah, he's spectacular, and he's always caught in the web of his shit. But he's also sensational.
Of course, he's sensational.
So yeah, that'll do it for Spider-Man. Obviously, it could go on and on.
Well, it actually doesn't do it
Wait,
for
what?
Doesn't do it for Spider-Man.
I'm sorry.
I'm gonna piggyback a little bit on this. I got to talk about Steve a little more in depth.
Please,
Steve
yeah.
Ditko.
He deserves it.
Yeah.
He's somebody. Yeah, I mean, we've talked about Kirby, and we are still going to continue to talk about Kirby, specifically, when we cover other areas from other companies.
Well,
like
real quick,
DC.
I'll just say Lee and Kirby. I think when you think of comics, those are like the two gods. But
Ditko is up there. He belongs to be right next to them.
Should be.
He's on
like,
Mount Rushmore with them.
Exactly. So,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Stephen J. Ditko, or Steve Ditko, he was born in November 1927, guys.
Still working
Really?
in advertising.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
He's best known as the artist and co-creator, of course, of Spider-Man and Doctor Strange, which we discussed. Ditko studied, here's something you might not know, he studied under artist Jerry Robinson
Oh, wow.
at the Cartoonist and Illustrators School in New York City. He began his professional career in 1953, working in the studio of Joe Simon and Jack Kirby, beginning as an inker and coming under the influence of artist Mort Meskin. During this time, he then began his long association with Charlton Comics, where he did work in the genres of science fiction, horror, and mystery. He also was a co-creator of the superhero Captain Atom in the 60s. During the 1950s, Ditko also drew for Atlas Comics. He went on to contribute such significant work for Marvel in 1966 after being the exclusive artist on The Amazing Spider-Man and Doctor Strange, which was featured in Strange Tales. Ditko left Marvel for reasons never specified.
Right.
He never really talked about it. Ditko continued to work for Charlton and also DC Comics, making major contributions, including a revamp of the Blue Beetle, where he created Ted Kord, and might I say, the best superhero around, Ted Kord, the Blue Beetle. He also co-created The Question, The Creeper, Shade the Changing Man, and Hawk and Dove. So he did a lot for DC as well. He became basically a Renaissance man of sorts, and his work was very captivating, especially to the college crowd after Doctor Strange. So he had quite a following then, because his work was quite what they would call psychedelic, and reminded them of the images they would see when tripping on shrooms.
Well, it's funny, just to jump in real quick, Kevin sent me an old record. It's like this really terrible recording, but it's cool. It's Stan Lee in around the 65, 67, I don't know, talking to Princeton students. And like you were saying, he was apparently, Doctor Strange was huge with the college students. And one college student gets up and asks a question. He's like, yeah, Mr. Lee, like, I really love what Steve Ditko is doing with Doctor Strange. Is he ever going to get his own title? And Stan's like, it's funny you said that. Steve just called me the other day, and he's going to be leaving the book. And all these Princeton college students start booing. And he's like, I know, I love him too. Like, he didn't really even give me a reason. He just said he's not going to be in the book anymore. Because I guess their relationship was like kind of how it is now. Like, he would just send him, he would give him like the pages, or Stan would give him like some storylines, and he would just write draw the pages and send them in. They didn't really have any one-on-one kind of.
After 4 years on Spider-Man, when he left Marvel, he and Lee had not been on speaking terms for some time. With art and editorial changes handled through intermediaries, the details of the rift remain uncertain, even to Lee, who confessed in 2003, and this is what you were talking about. I never really knew Steve on a personal level. Ditko later claimed it was Lee who broke off contact and disputed the long-held belief that the disagreement was over the true identity of the Green Goblin.
Really?
Yeah, Stan never knew what he was getting in my Spider-Man stories and covers until after production manager Sol Brodsky took the material from me. So there couldn't have been any disagreement or agreement, no exchanges, no problems between us concerning the Green Goblin or anything else from before issue 25 to my final issue. Spider-Man successor artist John Romita, who was the step-in guy, in 2010, he said that he recalled that Lee and Ditko ended up not being able to work together because they disagreed on almost everything. Cultural, social, historically, everything they disagreed on, characters. A friendly farewell was given to Ditko in the bullpen bulletins of Fantastic Four number 52. And it said in there, Steve recently told us he was leaving for personal reasons. After all these years, we're sorry to see him go, and we wish the talented guy success with his future endeavors. And in one of Kevin's comics, he has an issue here. Kevin brought it with him.
This last issue of Spider-Man.
It's Amazing Spider-Man number 38. And in it, in the Marvel bullpen, it has bulletin. It's hail and farewell to sturdy Steve Ditko. Spider-Man number 38 and Strange Tales number 146, both now on sale, will mark his final appearances in any Marvel mags, except for the numerous reprints you'll find in our king-size issues. Steve recently...
Just selling you on that shit.
Yeah. Steve recently told us he was leaving for personal reasons. After all these years, we're sorry to see him go, and we wish the talented guy success with his future endeavors. As for his replacement, all we can say is, since someone else has to draw Spidey, thank Asgard that Jazzy Johnny Romita has returned to the fold. Not only has he captured the spirit, the excitement, and the indefinable uniqueness that has made the old web-slinger one of the literature's most sensational successes, but Johnny has actually managed to add a new dimension, the attribute of sheer artistic glamour, which we predict will lift Spidey to still greater heights of Marvel magnificence. And needless to say, Smilin' Stan will continue to turn out the type of stories which no one has yet been able to hold a candle to. As for Doctor Strange, at the time of his writing, he still hasn't chosen a new artist, but we've had a whole caboodle of volunteers from among our loyal bullpenners, so just wait and see, pussycat.
This is swinging 60s.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. It was jazzy and jiving. So that was basically what happened. I mean,
and I gotta say too, we just read that straight from the comic book.
Yes, we did.
From the original comic book. That's pretty
just
cool.
by coincidence, I just found it when I was looking through it. I said, "Oh man, you got to read this, dog."
That's pretty cool.
Pretty fantastic. Yeah. We're reading it. It smells glorious, by the way, everybody. Yes. It smells so nice.
We are passing around. We're getting high. We're getting high. We're getting high on these comics.
Right now. Man, that is.
Yes, we are. Yes,
yeah.
we are.
That is a smell that you can only get.
Oh, sorry to interrupt, everyone. just wanted to mention real quick about a shop in Canoga Park, California called Spiro's Heroes. Elliot, the proprietor of the store, has over 300,000 books in what's called the Temple of Comics. That's Spiro Heroes in Canoga Park, spirosheroes.com. So with that, everybody, that's going to close our part 1 of the Marvel Silver Age. It's so large, guys, we can't contain it.
Yeah, we even
into
wanted
one
to.
pod.
We even wanted to, and we
tried.
still can't.
We tried and we failed. So there's going to be a part 2. Join us for that, if you would. Please find us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook,
YouTube,
iTunes,
FaceTubes. Yeah,
FaceTubes.
iTunes, rate, review. And, you know, I know a lot of people that are like, hey, I don't know how the podcast stuff works. All our pods are on YouTube. Go to YouTube, subscribe to us there, and you can listen to them if you want there. Anywhere you want.
Yeah.
We're there.
And if you can, you know, try to see if you can stop by your local comic shop, because maybe that's where
we'll see you at the comic shop.
This has been The Real Short Box. We'll see you at the comic shop. Thanks for listening.